it's so fulfilling. And a lot of people say don't tie your identity into your career, and sure, for some people that might work for them. For me, a big part of my identity is being a teacher. When I have those successful moments, like, oh my gosh, all of me is just like whole in that moment, and those are the moments that you have to hold on to, and that's what you have to do it for. It just makes everything worth it.
This is The People Who Make Virginia. Real stories from the people making a difference in our communities. Brought to you by Broughton Injury Law, a veteran-led, trial-ready law firm.
All right, we're back. The People Who Make Virginia by Broughton Injury Law. And today we've got a special guest. We have a 5th grade teacher joining us.
True.
From Chesterfield County.
True.
And let me tell you guys a story about how Katie Allen and our firm met. So it was probably a month or two ago at this point. I get an email and it's, hey, my name is Katie and I'm a 5th grade teacher in Chesterfield. And I've got a student or a bunch of students who would love to have pens or branded pens by your law firm. And we get a lot of emails, probably too many emails. And a lot of times, some of them are spam and who knows, they're asking for all types of stuff. And so it took me a few minutes and I was like, I don't know if this is legit. But I was like, but she's asking for pens. And then I Googled her name and I was like, oh my gosh, she actually is a real teacher. She exists. She's at least listed on the school's website. And then our team managed to find some pens, put in the mail. And my hope is that your kids are in love with our Broughton Injury Law pens.
Oh, they loved it. They would walk around with them like clipped to their shirt or in their pencil bag. But yeah, they loved them. Thank you.
Little car salesmen everywhere.
That's right. That's right. We've got 5th graders running around making sure our brand is known, right? That's what we do here. So, Katie, thank you for joining us. Before we get into it, why don't you take a minute or so and introduce yourself?
Sure. So thank you for having me. I'm Katie, and I'm a teacher, and I'm 27.95 years old. And I love being a teacher, and that's what brought me here.
Teaching. So my wife was a kindergarten teacher, which is why our relationship tends to work. Mm-hmm. She is. Thank you for laughing, Harry. There we go. But anyways, it is. My gosh, is it a hard job? I actually still remember the days when she was doing kindergarten, and I mean weekends doing all these craft type stuff, and like police officers, firefighters, other public servants, I think as a society, we tend not to give them the credit that they deserve. And so it's not easy work. And I am confident that a room full of 5th graders would drive me out of a window.
Sometimes it does. Yes. Yeah.
What I'd like to do to get this started is to take you back to 2020. Mm-hmm. You are finishing school, becoming a teacher. You get your first job teaching in an elementary school, and there's this thing called COVID.
Sure. Can I slow you down a little bit?
You can.
Okay, I'm going to take you back a little bit farther back to 1998. Just kidding, but a little bit, not really. But
is that when you were born?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Basically.
So I graduated college.
That's when Gray was overseas fighting. Yeah.
Very good. Well, when I was growing up, I was sort of lucky in the sense that I never had the internal struggle of what am I going to be when I grow up, because I always knew I was going to be a teacher. There was never like anything that like spontaneously inspired me or something that I had thought about, like literally ever since I can remember. It was always just, oh yeah, I'm going to be a teacher when I grow up. Like, I'll be a teacher. Okay, cool. And I've always loved little kids. Like when I was growing up, I was always like going to the neighbors and asking to babysit, whatever. Knew I'm going to be a teacher, which is nice because as I'm going through high school, I am presented opportunities like teacher cadet and tutoring and different clubs for educators and stuff like that. And then I get to college and I go to a really small school called McDaniel College, which we love McDaniel, go Green Terror. And then during my senior year of college, I start student teaching in January of 2020. And I love it. I'm having a great time. And then COVID happens. And everyone's like, what the heck is going on here? And I was just like really just, obviously we all were just praying that like it wasn't going to come to fruition the way that it did, but it did. And March rolls around and we get the email that we're being sent home. And in our program at McDaniel, my graduating class was actually the very first class to have the elementary education major. Before that, it was only a minor. You had to major in something else. And so my graduating class was like the guinea pig class of the elementary ed majors. And so we were all like, how is this going to affect graduation and all of that? Well, for the rest of student teaching, we had to teach on Google Classroom, which was not really teaching. Like, we were all just doing the best that we could. My mentor teacher put me in charge of science plans, so I just had to make a virtual science lesson and post it to the Google Classroom once a week. And
what were the ages of the kids you're teaching then?
This was second grade, so this was 7, 8.
Oh, wow.
9-ish. And then that was hard in and of itself, and also really scary for us as students, because student teaching is like your time to be boots to the ground, really experiencing it day in, day out, like in the schedule of a real teacher would. And we didn't get that experience. So we already were going into the career. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but I was going into the career feeling like I was a step behind a little bit because I didn't have this experience that every other teacher got to have. And it made me nervous, but that was just sort of like the top of the water of what was going on underneath. Internally, I was really struggling with a lot of grief that was going on because, literally my entire life, I'm like, I'm going to be a teacher. This is my path. I know exactly what's happening. For me, it's going to look like this and then this and then this and then this. But hey, just kidding. No, it's not. So there was a lot of grief involved in the sense that this very scary transition is not going to look like what I thought it was going to look like. And I'm scared, and I'm 21 and I'm scared. Yeah.
You're still here though.
True.
You're still here, and you've got your own classroom now.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so I love my classroom, but anyways, I graduate, I get a job teaching first grade, and we start teaching virtually, and teaching first graders virtually, I can't even explain what that was like because they can't read yet. And a lot of my students had varying levels of English abilities, and so that added another layer of complicated. And so trying to teach them how to read and write on a computer that they don't know how to use. I have a picture of me. This was me on like the first day of school. The principal or the dean came and took this picture of me just trying to teach over the computer. I'm holding up
Show that camera.
I'm holding up a whiteboard to the
wild.
laptop.
And so presumably you were in the school,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And the students were at home, right?
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, I was in the school and the students were at home, and it was tricky because a lot of that at that school that it was a really working class school, and it was a Title I school, and so a lot of parents were working 3-4 jobs just to make ends meet, and so a lot of them couldn't be home to help support the kids, and they're first graders, and they need that support, and it was tricky. I was really burnt out. It was so hard. Like, that was probably the hardest year of my whole life, and every day I went home, and I was like, what was that?
Were there a lot of absences when you're talking about like parents being busy and having to, or did they have somebody like a babysitter like
there were certainly a lot of absences. Yeah, there were. We just showed up and hoped that as many kids as could show up, and halfway through kids would get disconnected and not know how to log back on. And it was crazy.
That's wild. Well, let's try and give our listeners an understanding of like what your day-to-day life looks like.
Okay.
And I recognize it's probably mayhem, but as a 5th grade teacher, what is it like?
Well, so I am a little bit unique in my position. I feel like there are certain aspects of my personality that make my day-to-day life a little bit different than other students, and one of them is the fact that I have ADHD pretty severely. And part of that is like being really, I can really hyper-focus on projects and stuff like that, and also probably on the spectrum a little bit. And so I have a lot of different like sensory needs than other teachers. And so my classroom looks different than other classrooms, and I also don't have any kids. I have a significant other and I have a cat and a dog, but other than that, I don't have any kids. And so I have a lot more time in my schedule to devote to my career. And I love my career and I love what I do. And I want to be good at what I do. And so I do spend a lot of time outside of school doing school. So for example, my school day starts at 9:10. I get there at 6:30 when the building opens because I love it. I love my classroom. I've worked very hard to make my classroom a comfortable, serene, calm space. There's comfy seating everywhere. We don't turn on the big light. We only use lamps. I have, oh my gosh, so many lamps, maybe 10 around my classroom.
You sound like half of our office.
Yeah. Yeah.
No big lights. We have big light team and we have the lamp team.
Mm-hmm. Look, I'm not going to show the camera because there's student faces, but I can show you this. That's like cool. A sort of the vibe of my classroom. Like there's LED lights everywhere.
Oh, that's awesome.
This was actually during College and Career Readiness Month this year. Some VCU engineers came and did a presentation for my kids. And that was the picture from that. But I made my classroom a place where I want to spend my time and I'm comfortable, and I don't want it to feel like I'm just coming to work and then going home, and I want it to feel like a home away from home. So I get to work at 6:30, so I can have a nice, calm, slow morning, take my time, be prepared, and because if I start getting stressed or rushing in the morning, then it's really hard for me to calm my nervous system down from that. And I feel the most comfortable in my job, and I do the best teaching when I'm calm and regulated and just going slow. And so that's why I get there super early. So I get there super early and I clean up anything that needs to get cleaned up. There's a lot of cleaning in a 5th grade classroom.
I bet.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of cleaning in any grade classroom, but there's a lot of cleaning. I just pick up odds and ends and organize things and get my copies ready. And then I try and get that done in the morning, and then whatever extra time I have, that's my may-do time. I have my must-dos, which is getting ready for the day, and then I have my may-dos, which is my fun stuff, which is making bulletin boards and making posters and decorating the door and making cute coloring pages for them and making projects for them. And when I have time to do that in the morning, that's a good day. I love doing that. And then the kids come in and it's go, 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 and go.
You can say
more.
chaos.
You can say chaos. Yeah. How many kids do you have in your class?
It's different every year. So my school is, we started doing departmentalization. So I only teach language arts and social studies, which I love doing. And it made me fall in love with my career so much more that I was able to focus on that. And let me tell you, 5th grade social studies is really fun and interesting. But I have my homeroom class, and then we switch with another teacher. So in my homeroom class, I usually have, my administration likes to pair me up with some of the specialized programs in my school. We have IDP Intensive Day Program, which is a program for kids with emotional, very high, emotional needs. Like they were taken out of their regular setting because they just need more support in that. And then also there's a special needs classroom. And so the administration, I pair up with their teachers in their separated classrooms. So they come into my room. So I had about 28 on my homeroom roster.
Oh, wow. And are you by yourself?
Yeah, most of the time. The kids from the other classrooms, they're not always with me. And sometimes when they're with me, they have a teacher, sometimes not. It just depends. But yeah, I usually have between 24 and 28. And then in my switch class, when we switch classes and I get someone else's homeroom kids to come in to learn language arts and social studies with me, then it's usually about 21 to 24 kids.
And when does your day end? So you're there. My understanding is you're there at 6:30 a.m. when the building opens. Your kids start coming in, what, around 9 or so?
9:10.
9:10 on the dot, not 9:11, 9:10.
No.
Okay. If it was
not
me,
that
it'd
one.
probably be 9:15, but I'm pretty good at being late. It's a skill. And then when's your day over?
Well, our contract hours end at 4:15.
When is Katie Allen's day over?
Depends on the day. If I had a really good day of teaching and I have a lot of energy left at the end of the day, then I'll usually stay after school and do some of those like morning tasks for the next morning the day before, or I'll just do a project, or I'll work on like just something special, because those like something specials are my favorite part of teaching. I love them. But some days if I had a really rough day, like if it was hard and I just have no energy left whatsoever, then it's 4:15. I'm in my car. Peace out.
What are some of like special projects that you do?
Thank you for asking.
Please.
Well, a lot of them have to do with like the decor in my classroom. Like I'm really big into decorating, and I think that's one of the things about my personality that also sort of makes me unique, in the sense that I'm very creative. I've always loved art and making projects, and are you familiar with Canva?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Canva. I can't do it with my rings. We're like this. She's my girl.
I didn't realize she had a gender.
She does when I'm using her.
Understood.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyways.
Canva is an amazing tool.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah. And teachers get Canva Pro for free.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Yes, it is. And I take full advantage of Canva Pro for free. I like to, I'll show you some of this stuff. So, you know how I told you social studies is really fun to teach?
Right.
So 5th grade social studies is all about the geography of continents. So the basic types of land that make up each continent, or like interesting facts about the continent, the mountain ranges, the oceans, the rivers, right? Which might not sound super interesting, but the earth is so beautiful. So it is interesting. And I've learned so much sort of taking over the curriculum. The Chesterfield gives us curriculum and they say, here's what you can teach. And then I look at it and I'm like, thank you. But, they're 10, right? And with 10-year-olds, especially in this day and age, they check out before you even hand them the assignment or the paper or the lesson. And so I have found that the best way to get students' engagement and to get them into it with you is to make it colorful, to bring it to their level. And so one of the things I love doing is I love taking the curriculum that we're given, and I like turning it into my own slides. It's still the same exact information, the same exact bullet points, but I add my own colorful flair, and I love to include pictures of them in the slides and pictures of their pets and my pets. And so this right here is actually, I have a picture of, it's a screenshot from my computer. I was making slides on Canva Pro about North America, and
Not a sponsor.
True. But Canva.
I might give them a sponsorship if they give us a free Canva thing.
Yeah.
It can get a little pricey.
Potential sponsor.
Yeah. Right. We all know Canva's listening,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. So I used my dog, Bug, and my cat, Cookie, because my students love Bug and Cookie. And so I put pictures of them in every single slide, and I made task cards, and it's Bug and Cookie asking them every single question.
That's cool.
And this was one of my favorite lessons ever to teach. One of the kids came up to me, and they were like, when we learn about South America, is it going to look the same way? Are we going to do this again sometime? And another kid had said, I came to school today thinking it was just going to be another boring day of school, but this was actually really fun. And as a teacher, you can't get too excited. But so on the outside, I was just like, true. But on the inside, I was like, okay, I did it. Heck yeah. That's the best feeling ever. But so
Let me dig into that.
Sure.
So what I'm hearing from you, or at least what I think I'm hearing, is that you love your job.
Oh, yeah.
Like without question.
Yeah.
Right?
I love my job.
And what is it about it? Like, what is that feeling that you get when you see the work that you put into, let's say, the Canva project, and you get that affirmation from your fifth grader who says, "Man, I had a great day at
Oh
school."
my gosh, it's so fulfilling. And for me, being a lot of people say, don't tie your identity into your career. And sure, for some people that might work for them. For me, a big part of my identity is being a teacher. Like I told you, I've literally been a teacher since I was born. Like that is what I knew I was going to do. It's what I did. It's what I'm doing. And I love it. And I'm good at it. And it's fun. And so when I have those successful moments, like, oh my gosh, it's just like all of me is just like whole in that moment. And it's like, it just makes all the hard because like you said, teaching is very hard. And there are more harder moments than there are easier moments. And so those are the moments that you have to hold on to. And that's what you have to do it for. And it just makes everything worth it. And it makes you forget about all of the struggles of the day that you've had or anything. But it's like a little moment of bliss.
How often, just piggybacking off Cherie's question, how often do you put in all that work and then the kids kind of like don't even notice it, or they just...
The nice thing about elementary school age kids is there's always going to be a handful that worship the ground that you walk on, which is fun. They're my little fan club. And so there's always kids coming in and they're like, oh, Miss Katie, the bulletin board. Oh my gosh, it's different. I love it. And so most of the time there's always going to be some consistent recognition. And so that is very nice. And kids, while they can be very hard, they're also so sweet. They're kids. They're innocent. And so, yeah, there's always going to be kids that do notice it. And there's definitely always going to be kids that are just getting there to get back home.
So why do you do this? You said you're born a teacher, right?
Yeah.
You love it.
Yeah.
That's obvious, right?
For sure.
You're a workaholic. Welcome to the club. So you're in great company. What is it? Like, why?
I'm just good at it.
No, but it's
You
more
know
than
what I
that.
mean?
You're not just good at it.
I like to do things I'm good at. I'm successful and I get,
Get the validation.
yeah.
But
And
why teaching?
because I really wouldn't know, I would be miserable doing anything else, literally anything else. I've always thought about, can I do something else? Because, as you know, teachers' paychecks are not big. And I am struggling financially. I've always been struggling financially. I make ends meet. I pay my bills. I do what I need to do, but I want more money. But so because of that, I've looked at other careers and every time I think about it, I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that either. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that either. Like teaching is really the only thing. It makes like when you're a teacher, clearly you obviously don't do it for the paycheck. That's a given. But there's literally nothing else that I could or would do because there's nothing else that would fulfill me like teaching does. Like I genuinely, I'm a very happy, I'm a very confident human being and I'm very fulfilled. And I think any other career that I have, I would be like, not feeling that way.
What differentiates you from the other teachers? Not to put your coworkers on the spot, but like when you say you're a good teacher, I'm good at it. Okay, so what's...
Every teacher has moments of being a good teacher. Every teacher has aspects of being a good teacher, but and I certainly have my weaknesses as well. I'm not going to say that I'm perfect. However,
I am.
Well, thank you, sir.
I'm joking.
I definitely have my faults and I make mistakes just like anybody else. But, I wouldn't necessarily compare myself to other teachers because I cannot say what other teachers are doing right and wrong. That's their classroom. They're doing what works for them. And I'm just doing what works for me. And I think that what works for me is over the past 6 years, I'm about to enter my 7th year of teaching. When I started teaching and as I've gone through my career, I've built a very strong foundation of trust. You have to trust yourself because in the most of teaching is thinking on the fly, reacting to things as they come up because kids will say stuff to you that you never expected to hear in your whole life. And so you have to sit there and you have to react and you have to be the adult in the room in a situation that no one has trained you for. You would never expect to hear those words in your life. And so you have to trust yourself that you know how to handle it even when you don't. And so I really do. I trust myself and I listen to my intuition. And like I said, I make mistakes. But, you know, I think that is a big part of what makes me a good teacher. And then also I'm very confident in what I do. That goes with trusting myself. But I'm confident in the classroom. I project that into my students and I give them the foundation for them to start being confident. I would try and act as a model for them to look up to, and I try and speak in a way that I would want their inner voice to sound in their head. And so that mixed with the creative aspects really works for me. And also being neurodivergent, like I talked about, I have a really severe ADHD, which gives me a very unique, what's the word I'm looking for?
Perspective?
Lens. Yeah, perspective or lens to look through as I'm teaching, because many students are neurodivergent themselves, and those students tend to be the ones that struggle the most in school because school's hard and it's hard to sit still. It's hard to be a kid. We all know this. We've all been kids at some point in our lives. But being a neurodivergent teacher, I can sort of, you know, I can empathize at a different level and understand what they're feeling and what's going on in their head a little bit more so than a neurotypical teacher. And it really has helped me, like, I think building relationships is one of the things that also is one of my strengths as a teacher, is just getting to know the kids, know what they like, know what they're into. And that's one of the benefits of being 27.95 is that I'm still pretty young for my career, and I am aware of all the trends. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram. I'm in the trenches. And so, you know, I know 6'7" before 6'7" even happened. So they hit me with it and I'm rolling with them and they love that and it's relatable for them. And so, you know, I will take advantage of that for as long as I can. And who knows how long that will be. I'm sure it will be a slow process, but for as long as I can keep relating to them, and then that's what I'm going to do. But
how does it make you feel when you connect with a child, especially one for whom learning is difficult, and maybe they're neurodivergent, and you know, school is not easy for them, and you have one of those moments that you talked about earlier where things click and they're happy and they're learning this, you know, this material that's mandated by the county, and you're putting your own spin on it, and you're doing creative things like having, you know, Canva, you know, PowerPoint slides with, you know, cats and dogs and all sorts of different things. How does that make you feel?
Well, a lot of the times that's just what I'm doing every day as I'm teaching. Like a lot of like how I react to someone, like I try and teach through like a trauma-informed lens. Like I mean, that's a very loaded question. Obviously, it feels very good. But you know, it's different. Every single student is so different. Every single child, every single human being is so different. But every single time, you know, when you make that connection, like that really is what it's for. And I always try and be very reflective about my days. I'm always thinking about the school day and what went right and what went wrong. And sometimes I'll even like set my phone up and like record myself as I'm teaching, so that way I can go home and I can listen to myself and hear how I sound. And sometimes when I do that, I'm like, oh, I could have been a little bit more patient, or I could have been a little bit more calm, or that was hilarious. I need to use that one again.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll hear things that kids called out that I didn't hear in the moment. And I'm like, oh, that was so sweet, or, ooh, yikes. But, you know, I am always just trying to think about what went right, what went wrong, what felt good, what didn't feel good. And then bring those aspects of myself into the next day. And so that way, hopefully every day has a little bit more good than the day before. And sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it's the hardest day of my career. But even on those days, there's still at least one thing that went right, or, it doesn't erase all of the success that I've had up until that point. And so, I every time, I make that connection, I try and I pocket it. I take a snapshot and I try and pocket it for when I need it, because you need it a lot.
Are those, instances what brings you back to being a teacher every year?
I mean, what brings me back is I just am a teacher, just at my core, but those certainly help. And those are what I think about every year as I'm setting up my classroom for, the 7th time, 6th time, 5th time, and those are always, every student, I'll remember every student forever. But, when I get letters from students, I actually brought some printed out letters of that students have written me. But when a student writes me a letter that says, "You're why I love school," or "I feel happy when I come to your classroom," or I had one kid write to me, said, "I feel happy when I see you," and that's just, I'll remember that forever and ever from a whole life. And I feel happy to see you too.
If you remember one thing, if your students were to remember one thing about spending the year in your classroom, what do you hope that would be?
I just hope that they remember that they were comfortable. I just want them to be comfortable.
And why is that?
Because it's hard to be a kid. School is hard, and for a lot of them, life is really hard. And, being a kid is so confusing. And yeah, it's joyous and it's fun, and there's moments of bliss, but there's a lot of moments of struggle. And school inherently is tied to struggle, because you have to struggle to grow. You have to fail to learn, right? And of course, there's going to be 1 or 2 kids that just get it, grow. But that's not how it goes. And there's always going to be struggle at school, as there should be. There needs to be productive struggle. And also, like I said, you can't learn without making mistakes first. And so I just want them to feel like they were okay and they were comfortable, and they just had they were safe. They had a safe space to land.
I'll share a story I heard a number of years ago, and it's something that stuck with me, clearly because I remember it. But it's hypothetical, it's fictional, right? And but I'm sure we've all seen this play out in some parts of our life. But it's a student teacher. He's teaching inner city school that's got children who they're going through a lot, right? They're in the classroom. There's this one student who's clearly struggling. There's stuff going on at home, and there's just only so much this young teacher can do. Student teacher goes to a mentor and says, "Hey, what more can I do? I don't know. There's only so much." And the mentor goes, "Well, go just buy him a Coke." Mm-hmm. And the student teacher is like, "Well, what do you mean just buy him a Coke? What's that going to do? Buy him a soft drink? A soft drink's not going to actually make a difference, right?" Mm-hmm. And then the mentor goes, "You know what? One day, years from now, that child is going to look back and they're going to remember that you, for no reason other than just to be kind, went out of their way and bought them a Coke and sat down and talked with them. And they will never forget that." And so what I'm hearing from you today is you have the secret ingredient that makes what you do work. It's
Sometimes.
that you, no, you do, is that you care, right? And it's the same thing with what we do in our practice. At the end of the day, Katie Allen, no relation to Allen, right? But your father actually was a personal injury lawyer.
True.
And at least what we think, at least at our firm, is that if we as a team can show that the people that we have the privilege to representing, that we genuinely care, not only does that hopefully give our clients a better experience, but when it's time for us to walk into that courtroom and to talk about our client's story and to ask for a result that recognizes what was taken from them at no fault of their own. If we truly care, that's contagious. Mm-hmm. And
to feel seen is to make others feel seen is the highest of, rewards.
Without question.
Yeah. Without question.
Now, on that note, there's many people have no idea what it's like to stand in a classroom with 5th graders. Most people have no idea what it's like to be a teacher at a school. What's the thing that you want our listeners who don't have that experience, who don't know much about the school system, especially here in Chesterfield County, right, or in the Richmond metropolitan area? What would you want them to know or to take away from this?
Teaching is hard. And I know I've talked a lot about the sparkly moments of it, but teaching is so hard day in and day out. And your teachers are struggling, even the best ones, even the most successful ones. Like, give teachers some patience, please. And, teachers, they go home and they have to deal with, everything at home, and we don't make enough money, and we have to come to work every day, and we teach, and we try our best to forget about it. But, we are trying to make this huge difference, and we're still only people. We have our own struggles, and we're just trying the best I'm just trying the best that I can. And sometimes I win and sometimes I make mistakes, but, just trust your teachers and listen to them and cut them some slack, because I'm doing the best I can with the resources that I'm given. You have to be very creative as a teacher to make it work, because we're, like I said, not given the resources that we need. So help your teachers out.
My wife, when she was a teacher, and I mean, to this day, she is very supportive of teachers. She helps out at our kids' school and when she can. And the saying that she would say all the time was like, it is teachers who make every other profession possible, right? And so the importance of teaching certainly can't be understated. One thing we like to do when we close these things up is we like to ask our guests, you being one of them, like, how can we assist with your mission, with your school? How can we as a firm, how can we as a community, what are things that we can do?
Okay.
Besides just sending pens.
Sure. Before I answer that question, can I actually share a very, very quick anecdote that is a personal story that I have? That your Coke story made me think of that?
Absolutely. And when I say Coke, I mean Coca-Cola.
I figured.
Okay.
I had hoped.
Okay. All right.
You never know with Sheree.
Yeah.
Sure. So this actually happened during my 5th year of teaching. And I don't know why I had this, but I had went to Chick-fil-A breakfast that morning, and for some reason I had an extra cup of ice. Like, I just had this cup of ice, and I'm pretty sure I just had gotten it to like pour into my water bottle at school. I can't even remember, but I remember it just sitting there, and I was about to throw it away, and one of my students goes, "What are you going to do with that?" And I said, "I don't know, just throw it away." And he said, "Can I have it?" And I said, "You want this cup of ice?" And he said, "Yeah, can I have it, please?" And then I looked at it and I was like, "Sure, knock yourself out." So he took it and he just started eating the ice, and I was like, "Do you have a water bottle today?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Do you want to go? How about you go and you fill that up with water and you can use that as your water bottle today?" And he literally was like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a good idea." And I really didn't think anything of it for the rest of the day, but that night I got an email from his mom, and she emailed me and she was like, I'm not going to say his name, but she was like, I'll say Justin because that's my brother's name. She was like, "Justin came running in today with the biggest smile on his face, and he said that you're the coolest teacher in the whole wide world because you gave him your Chick-fil-A cup." And he said that he felt like so cool in that moment, and I guess it just made he carried it around with him for the rest of the day. And I recently had reconnected with that mom a couple weeks ago during like the last week of school, because she was substitute teaching for a teacher on my team. And she said that Justin still talks about the Chick-fil-A cup of ice that I just let him have. And it's just those like really just those small moments of connection that like you literally never know what is going to click or work for a student, but it's just one of those trust your instincts kind of things. Like,
Well, they have the fancy ice.
They do. It is delicious. I can't blame him. But now whenever I, think of a Chick-fil-A cup of ice, like, and it's just those little things that like, I was just going to throw it away.
Think about the ripple effect. We actually talked about this in our very first episode, right? The person who's serving ice cream, right? Like, who does a good job, right? They're not selling ice cream, they're selling happiness, they're celebrating comfort, or they're selling comfort. That Chick-fil-A cup wasn't just a new thing for that kid. It meant so much more. And what did it also mean for his mom, right? And how does that change things? And maybe that made her day a little bit better. And maybe then she paid it forward in ways that you'll never know.
I mean, she emailed me about it, which made my day better too. Like there was feedback from that, and then, just continues.
So how can this community help support your mission?
I mean, here's what I would say, in the tangible, right off the top of my head is please don't ever throw pens or pencils away or any sort of office supply away. Call your local school or just bring it to the main office and be like, hey, I have a donation of office supplies. Whenever I see people like throwing away office supplies, it hurts my heart a little bit. But literally, like you might not think, that a small little, supply of office supplies would make a big difference. But sometimes there's a teacher that they're having the worst day and all they need to do is see it like a little free notebook or a pencil or a pen in the teacher's lounge. And then it adds a little sparkle to their day, like the ripple. But at the very least, like, take a pack of pencils to your local school or just something like that is very helpful. But I really appreciate you, giving me this platform to share my story. But just listen to the teachers in your life. Let them rant to you about their day. Let them tell you every single detail because they've been talking to children all day and they need to tell another adult all about it. So give just
any events
patience.
Or volunteer opportunities that other people, like companies, can get involved with?
Well, what's fun and how I got connected with you is I was emailing you about how I was doing a bunch of stuff for College and Career Readiness Month with my kids, and I was asking for pens and pencils from colleges and businesses in the area so that way students can see these paths in their own hands, because, my students are going to be the ones who are either your clients or your colleagues or your bosses one day. And, for them to have the empowerment of seeing a pen or a pencil with a college logo or a business logo in their hands in 5th grade. Like, I just want them to see that this is a real path for them. And so I would love to invite you guys to my classroom next year during College and Career Readiness Month to talk to them. You could either just do a free solo, like, question and answers. Kids always will come up with a million questions if you give them the opportunity to. But talk to them about what it's like to be a lawyer, what was law school like, what was college like, just anything like that. They will eat it up and it will make a difference. But like for this year, I had engineers from VCU come and do a presentation and they had the kids do a little coding project, and then they just talked to them about what engineering school was like at VCU and what their life was like in college, and they ate it up. Like I showed you, that picture was from that day. Like that's like hopefully a core memory that they'll take with them. But I would love for anybody from your firm to come and talk to them about law. But would you guys want to do that?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
absolutely.
cool. I've got your contact.
Well, before
so-
we end here, I mean, our hope is that this will have a real platform, right? That this episode will be listened to and watched by many. For those who aren't in your world, what do you want them to know about how they can help?
Just patience in listening to them and advocate for teachers to get better salaries. Please help advocate for teachers to get better salaries. If there's ever something that comes up where your voice can be heard, and just tell it. Keep spreading the word. Teachers need to get paid more money.
Well, Katie Allen, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to staying in touch with you, and hope your 5th graders love the pens.
They do. And let me clarify. I'm not in it for the money. I don't need the money. I can pay my bills, but it wouldn't hurt to get a little bit more.
Well,
And they did love the pen.
Money is symbolic for importance, right? Or
Absolutely.
recognizing priorities. And that's what we do in our job, right? We
Yes.
can't give people their health back, but we can say what was taken was important.
Right.
And that means we're talking about a significant dollar value.
Right.
And I do think there needs to be a coming time in our country where we start putting some serious resources
Right.
behind the things that matter most.
Right.
Firefighters, police
Yeah.
officers, military, teachers.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially
So,
with the teacher shortage, and
yeah.
There needs to be more teachers and there needs to be more support, and we can't do that without, better resources. But thank you for having me. It was
Yeah,
very nice
course.
talking to you. Thank you for listening to me tell my stories.
Absolutely. Well, we'll
Thank
stay
you
in
for
touch.
coming.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The People Who Make Virginia by Broughton Injury Law. If we can ever be of help to you, give us a call at 877-VETS-WIN. That's 877-VETSWIN.